Joining me, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist and host of Behind the Curtain with Jack Burkman. Catch him every Saturday night on the Radio America Network and Sunday afternoons at 2 on WMAL in Metro D.C. Also, Mark Levine, Democratic Delegate-Elect to the Virginia State House. Catch his nationally syndicated radio show, Inside Scoop, weekdays at 3 p.m. on marklevinetalk.com. Terrorism and the fight against ISIS dominated the headlines this week. Before Thanksgiving, President Obama told the nation there is no current credible threat to national security, but his team is working overtime. That announcement came on the heels of a meeting with French President Francois Hollande. Together, they want to forge an unprecedented coalition to wipe ISIS off the map.
We're stepping up the pressure on ISIL where it lives, and we will not let up, adjusting our tactics where necessary until they are beaten.
Republicans criticize the president's initial response to the terror attacks in Paris. They say he needs to be more aggressive in the fight against the Islamic State. Mark, does that mean boots on the ground from the U.S. or maybe another country?
I hope not, but I have to say it's looking increasingly likely. I think this thing's frankly been bungled from the beginning, but I really liked the press report, the conference that Barack Obama had with Francois Hollande. I watched a lot of it, and in that he seemed to finally get it. I really liked when he talked about a coalition of 60 nations against a coalition of 2, Russia and Iran. He seems to understand where the problem, and that it's a multi-dimensional problem. We can't just fight ISIS,
right.
and we don't fight Assad. If we don't fight Assad as well, we're never going to stop the things that build.
You said the magic words, Mark. He finally seemed to get it. Yes, Obama finally seems to get it 3 years later. But the point is, why did we wait 3 years, and why did we have to wait for an attack on Paris to destroy ISIS? Why are now the French leading the global coalition to destroy ISIS? And worse than that, you realize how absurd all of this has become. We now have created an entree, a legitimate diplomatic entree for the Russians to return as the white knight hero to the Mideast, to their traditional role of backing Assad. And now, this week with the Turks shooting down the Russian plane, now the Russians have license to bring missiles to Syria.
Well, Jack, it's a mess in the Middle East. We don't know who our friends are. Why not let Russia take the lead on this? If the minute we get involved, they're going to bomb us even more. Why not let Russia do it? Give it to them. It's a mess. Well, here, have it.
You raise a good point. There's 2 issues. One, whether the United States should ever be fighting ISIS or involved there to begin with. And 2, once we commit, though, we can leave 1 go for the moment. But 2, once you commit, and the president committed to this 2 years ago, he had the ability, we had the tactical advantage, we should have destroyed ISIS. Obama, because of just a lack of focus, allowed this to wander because he's thinking about 10 different things at once. He meandered around. He let ISIS expand. ISIS has expanded under the Obama presidency. Then we have to wait for an attack in Paris. I mean, the question more becomes, does the president represent Paris or does he represent Washington? He may not know.
Russia is not fighting ISIS. Even if ISIS shot down a Russian plane, they're not fighting ISIS. They're fighting the one good people left in Syria, the moderate rebels who are trying to fight Assad. Russia is bombing them. They're bombing the wrong people. One thing I really liked that Obama said was that Turkey has the right to defend its airspace, and damn well it does. And I hope that we encourage Turkey to defend its airspace.
And Turkey doesn't like Bashar al-Assad. One more thing, Mark. Don't you think that Obama's trying to just kind of exit stage left while he can get out cleanly during this final year, leave his legacy intact and not get mired down in another war? Isn't that one reason why he's kind of tepid on going after any of these factions here and there?
It is an ugly mess, and President Obama did win his primary with Hillary Clinton in 2008 by being the non-interventionist president. Frankly, I like her solution a lot better than his. I admit it.
All right, let's move on to GOP presidential primary frontrunner Donald Trump. He supports a Muslim database, wants to keep Syrian refugees out of the U.S., and keep pushing this story.
During a speech recently, I said that I saw in parts of New Jersey, Jersey City, but parts of New Jersey, I saw people getting together and in fairly large numbers celebrating as the World Trade Center was coming down, killing thousands of people.
All right, police, journalists, and fellow conservatives call that assertion patently false. Mark, Trump has a big microphone. Everyone calls him a liar, but he just doubled down. What's the strategy in cases like this?
You know, it's hard to say. He said thousands of people. He said it would happen in Jersey City. He also said he saw people jumping out of the World Trade Center, which from his vantage point he couldn't possibly see. He wants to repeat these things because he thinks it'll make him popular, but he has no moral qualm about saying things that are very clearly lies. And when called on those lies, he does double down. And I have to ask myself, why do Republicans want this kind of person to be their president?
Jack, you're the Republican strategist. If you were advising Donald Trump, would he take your advice, and what would you tell him?
He would never take it, but I would advise him to keep on going. Sure, he's becoming he's becoming the Brian Williams of Republican politics, of national politics.
Which he called lying Brian Williams, but as we've said before,
yeah,
it doesn't stick to Trump.
Here's what he's doing. Here's what it's all about politically, Morris. The strategy is to move as far right as you can on Muslim and xenophobic issues. This is what Trump wants to do.
But he's not going to win a general election, though. He'll win the primary, maybe.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, with these candidates, the primary is so ferocious, I would advise them you can't even think about the general. The strategy is you move to the right, you win the primary, and then you come back to the center.
But it tells us something about your party,
Trump has a lot of weapons to come back to the center. Trump can just about run pro-choice. He's been pro-life.
Jack, it tells us something about your party, that you don't care about the truth, and that you go to the party, the person who spreads the most fear. That's the nature of the Republican Party today, isn't it?
All right, one more thing, Jack. The Washington Post editorial board called Trump a bully who's promoting brutal policies. They think establishment Republicans like George W. Bush need to stand up to Trump. Is it time to take him down a notch, maybe?
Trump is a bully. I'll give the Post credit. They're right on. They're usually inaccurate. In this case, they're accurate. Trump will get to the point soon. It might not be time yet. At some point in the next 30 days, you will see the character Trump modify. They will modify the character. He will modify the character that he plays. And that character will come down a notch as you get closer to Iowa. I think he's done a good job. We're talking about, this has gone on for 9 months. Trump, Trump, Trump.
Yeah, all right, it might not matter, but the latest poll from Quinnipiac University has Ted Cruz gaining in Iowa. Last month he polled at 10%. Now Cruz sits at 23%, only 2 points behind Trump. What happens if Cruz wins in Iowa, Mark?
Well, it's possible. I mean, anyone can win in Iowa. Huckabee won 1 year. I think Michelle Bachmann won a year. Santorum won a year. They don't seem to be spoken of as the next president of the United States. It really doesn't mean much. I think Cruz comes off as he says the things that Trump and Carson says, but he's a senator. I think they're all way too extreme for the American people, but not too extreme for the Republican Party.
Before we move on, what
do
you think if Cruz wins Iowa?
I think Mark's largely right. I think, except for the extreme part, I think Iowa's a real toss-up. You might even see Santorum win Iowa. He's beloved there. Cruz could win. Trump could win. Carson could win. It's very difficult to predict a caucus. Anybody that tells you somehow they can predict a caucus is half
well,
crazy.
except I think I think Santorum. People say who's sent. You know, I think he's off the radar. Hillary Clinton still holds a solid majority in Iowa. She got another boost this week from an unusual source. The Benghazi Committee and Chairman Trey Gowdy are now facing a lawsuit from a former Republican staffer who said the committee was conducting a witch hunt. Mark, this has become a political circus. At this point, is the Benghazi Committee helping or hurting Clinton's campaign?
I think it's helping because this staffer, who's a rock-red Republican, basically said the committee is only going after Hillary. They're not focusing on what happened in Benghazi. He was fired for saying it, and now they're claiming that he mishandled classified information. That's a felony, and therefore that is defamation. He's suing them for defamation. All it does is point out how political this thing is to begin with. Hillary Clinton shines through.
Capitol Hill is filled with disillusioned staffers in both parties who want television coverage and who want attention and who are mad at their bosses. I do think politically it's time to bring the committee's activities to an end. I don't think there's any more political gain from all this.
Which is a concession that it's helping Hillary, isn't it?
Well, it's old. Whether it's helping or not, I agree. It's just, let's move on. It's really old.
It's time.
All right, before we go, let's talk Turkey. The conservative online publication, IJ.com, just released this video. It's ruffling a few feathers.
One of the presidential prerogatives every year near Thanksgiving is the ability to pardon a specific turkey.
I should just mention on a historical note that the founders of our country wanted the turkey to be our national bird.
And so if I'm president, this is the turkey that I would have picked. Otherwise well-behaved.
I think you're so beautiful you should be pardoned.
Really not done anything that I think should cause us to frown upon her.
I'm pardoning it for being ugly. It agrees.
Former President George H.W. Bush formalized this strange tradition. Presidents pardon a turkey, then eat a turkey on Thanksgiving. What gives, Mark?
It's just one of those crazy American traditions that we all go. My favorite turkey story is when Sarah Palin is out there and a guy is actually taking a turkey upside down and cutting its head off, blood spattering all over the place. That's my favorite turkey
That's
memory.
the rough life in Alaska. Jack, any comments on
Oh,
turkeys?
Morris, I don't know. I think Marco Rubio could tell a joke. It's the first time I've ever seen Rubio in a moment of levity, so I'll give him credit.
I think he's rising. We'll follow it into the new year. Jack Burkman, Republican strategist. Mark Levine, Democratic lawmaker. The best political panel on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, guys. Thanks
Thanks.
Morris. Thanks, Mark.